Hi, and welcome to my additional videos to support you in your calligraphy practice. This video is focused on broad edge pens, and I'm going to talk about the type of materials that I normally use. Obviously, there are more materials. This is just a selection, but this is what I use as a regular basis, and I'm going to be talking about that. And I'm going to start with this section in here. So let's move all of these on the side. Okay, so these type of broad edge tools are made of two main pieces. So the first piece is the pen holder, and the second piece is the metallic nib. In here, you can see that easily you can detach one piece from the other. So I'll talk about this piece first. So this is one of the most affordable pen holders. It's just a plastic one. You can find it mostly everywhere. And you see that at the very top, there is an inner ring where we are going to be inserting the nib. Now, if you prefer to have a more organic feeling, you can purchase a wooden pen holder, which is also pretty affordable. Normally, these pen holders are always straight, and the metallic broad nib, it's inserted. So now let's talk about the nib. With the nib, in this case, the brand that you are seeing on the video, it's called Brause or Brause, is a German brand and is on the stiff side. Obviously, you can use other brands like William Mitchell and Speedball and many others. So this is the one I end up using most of the time. These nibs come in many different sizes. So in here, you can see that I have actually the first one, it's a 1.5 millimeters. The second one, it's a 3 millimeters. And the fourth one, which is this one here, is a 5 millimeters. The camera won't catch it with detail, but this type of nibs have the width engraved just right here on the nib. Now, the metallic nib is in itself divided into pieces. You can see that there is an add-on piece at the top in here called the reservoir, and you can completely detach the reservoir from the nib for cleaning purposes. So this one in here, it's just the nib, and then this small piece in here, it's the reservoir or the storage. The reservoir comes with two arms, let's call it, and these two arms just hug the nib, and then we are ready to go. So if I now attach the reservoir, let's go in a little bit so you see more detail. And I click on the right and then push and click on the left and make sure the reservoir is not going further from the nib. And now we have the two pieces together. It is important in here to evaluate the profile of this nib, as you can see, and be able to recognize how much ink we have every time we dip in the ink. So we are going to do a demo right now, and I will be using just a piece of recycling paper to show you the effects. Okay, so the ink I'm using currently is walnut ink. I use this ink a lot of the times. You can use this type of ink. You can use liquid watercolors. You can use Sumi ink. Any ink that works for you is fine. This ink also comes in two variations. There is a crystal version and ink that is already made. So I purchase the crystals, I recycle a plastic or glass jar, fill it with water, and basically I add as many crystals as I want depending on the color. So I like to use quite dark walnut ink, so I add quite a few crystals. Now, let me grab a paper and we are gonna do a quick demo about the nib and how to make it work. In here, I have a recycling piece of paper, and we are gonna try to do a slide demo, very quick demo about how to use the nib. So the nib I'm using at the moment is Brause 3 millimeters, and you see currently it's empty or nearly empty in here. So what I do now, obviously, is I'm dipping in the ink, and then I observe now the reservoir again. And if you look at it, it's like 90% full. To avoid to have too much ink with me, what I do is, I'll show you in here, I touch gently the jar and you see automatically it's downloading some ink. And then once I go into the paper, let's go in. I do this very small adjustment. So left to right, right to left to ensure that the ink is flowing. And then that's my first stroke. I have a lot of ink. So although the nib is not completely full, as you can see, is maybe 60, 70%, I still feel there is a lot of ink. So I can come back to the jar, touch gently to download some ink again, and then we observe again. Okay, so the reservoir is maybe now 60% full. And again, I do this gentle touch, right to left, left to right, and I have the stroke already in here, okay? Now, we are gonna talk about other options. So the second option I want to talk about are these pens. These pens, let's go outside. These pens is what I called the takeaway version. And I call these because these are very, very good to use them on the go. These pens come as well in different sizes, as you can see by the lids. And what you are seeing at the moment in here are only 4 examples, but you can purchase more than that. So we have 3.8, 2.4, and 6 millimeters in here. Okay, how do these pens work? So let's go out. So these pens work differently because main difference here is if we put these two nibs together, one next to the other, and let's refocus so you can see this clearly. Okay, so the first difference is with the browser, you can see that there is a very, very gentle angle on the nib. So the browser has a slight angle that helps us to get the angle of the writing a little bit easier. If you're a right-hander, you want the broad nib to be descending towards the right-hand side. If you're a left-hander, you also have the option of purchasing this nib with a slight variation where the angle or the slant of this broad nib is going slightly towards the left. I know there is one online shop in the US called John Neal Books that offers the left-hander version, and I'm sure there are more shops that offer that. So keep an eye on that, because if you're a left-hander, this is a good option. You can see now the engraving that says 5 millimeters on my camera. Now, big difference is with the Pilot Parallel pen, we don't have any angle on any side, so it's completely flat. The second big difference is that instead of having a reservoir, what we have in here is a pen that comes with a cartridge, and it's inserted in this way. If your pen is new and you need to insert it, basically just, this is your cartridge of ink, and this is the nib, and then we are gonna push the cartridge in as far as we can possibly go. Like the cartridge now is touching this section here of my pen. Then if your pen is new, I will close the pen, and I will also put the lid, and then I will make sure that I shake quite a bit. And then now we go in again, and I'm using a recycling paper. Okay, and we have here. So if you want, you can do the same idea of slightly moving the nib left to right, right to left. Normally with the Pilot Parallel pen, the ink comes really easily and the strokes flow very, very smoothly. Okay, so big differences between the two of them is that with the browser nib, we have a higher friction against the paper. So it feels stiffer because there is more friction between your nib and the paper. And this as a beginner can help because you feel more in control. With this one, the feeling is a lot more smooth. So the strokes flow a lot easier. But if we are a beginner and we don't know yet where we are going, we might feel that we lose control. With the other thing that happens with Pilot Parallel pens, which is not happening currently, but it happens a lot of the times, is that when you use the pen, your ink spreads across the fibers of the paper and it bleeds. And we don't want that. We actually want a really smooth stroke. So if it's happening to you that your ink is spreading across the fibers and you don't get a clean stroke, you need to invest on bleed-proof paper. So I'll show you what I currently use, but of course, there is more brands. This is what I normally use. It's called Canson XL Marker, in Spanish, marcador. In here, you can see the paper is slightly thinner, 70 GSM, so it's actually really good, and your strokes are very, very clean. Excellent. So next ones. So the next options that I have shown you originally are these. So this is called automatic pen. I have a couple of sizes in here. You can purchase more sizes. This is the same. It's a broad nib that, again, you see there is no angle on any side, and the space inside is working, is like two in one. It's working as the reservoir and as the nib itself. With this shape, we accomplish two things. One, the ink is stored here, and two, the filling is slightly flexible. Okay? So you can feel that when you write, you have a little bit of a bouncing effect. So this is another very good option. All these tools I'm explaining are very valid to write many different styles, including Roman capitals, Carolingian, Italic, Blackletter, Uncial, and others. So all these tools will cover many, many different styles. Now, this is another option. So what you see in here, again, is a metallic nib. And the nib, as the first ones I showed you, is detachable, so you can detach that. This is a really old pen holder. I believe I've had this for at least 20 years. And again, you have this inner ring, and I'm just inserting the nib inside the inner ring and push as far as I possibly can. Let me do it again, because this is so old. Okay, now it's completely attached. Now, the name of this is a steel brush, and is literally what it is emulating natural hairs, but with the steel. So again, we have a flexible and nice, soft feeling because the tool bends. And secondly, it's gonna give us, thanks to these lines, it's gonna give us a very nice texture on the page. So again, this tool comes in different sizes, and it's workable for any hands that I just mentioned before. Now, the last tools are very good quality flat brushes. I said good quality because it will make a huge difference if the quality of the brush is good or it isn't. So this is a very, very good tool that will work in many styles. The tool is challenging in the sense that now the flexibility is a lot higher. So if I push a lot, your strokes are much wider. If I press very little, your strokes will be narrower. So you need to have control of the angle, the type of stroke you want to make, and as well, the pressure. But this tool is a very good tool because it's going to give you very, very good level of expression. If you want to learn more about inks, there is an additional video already created, and it's part of the collection called Copperplate Frequently Asked Questions, where I talk about types of inks. If you want to learn more about papers, in the same playlist, you will find a video that talks about different types of paper and the type of textures that you can accomplish with different levels of textured paper. Okay, now the last point I'm going to touch in here is the positioning. So if I go back to the first tool, this one, actually I'll use a bigger one so it's a little bit more obvious. When we are writing calligraphy with our right-hand side, we are gonna use an angle of the writing and with slight variations, but we want to obtain a more or less angle of the writing. Now, coming from the right-hand side, I'm normally using this tripod method of the 3 fingers wrapped around and these two fingers driving. And the angle, depending on the writing, will be in one position or the other. If you're a left-hander and you are writing, for example, Carolingian, you will need to have an angle that is more or less 30 degrees. You can see the position here. Coming from the left, I recommend that the setup that you use is that you turn 90 degrees your guidelines, and now you position the pen in this way, and you can see that the angle of the writing now that I need to obtain, it's gonna be sitting in this section, and I can start writing in this section, and then from here, I move the pen, and I obtain the writing. So my guidelines is rotated 90 degrees, and now I get the same direction and angle of the writing. Also, my hand is sitting below the baseline, and so I don't smudge the letter forms. This is just my personal recommendation based on my experience being a right-hand calligrapher. So it's not a rule, it's a recommendation based of my practice being mostly from the right-hand side. So if you want very accurate recommendations, I would recommend looking for a left-handed calligrapher as well. So I hope all these explanations were very helpful, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Thank you very much.